Welcome to episode 256 of the Grip Strip podcast. The Sun, it's 1 week to Daytona edition of the Grip Strip podcast. My name is Philip Matthew. I'm your host. And as always, I'm with my co-host, the iRacing Indy 500 champion, computer genius, a gentleman and a scholar traveling this week on assignment in visiting the Wallaces. Not Darrell Wallace, but the other Wallaces. Probably could see Mike Wallace while he's crying in a corner because he's not at Daytona. His name is Josh Refine. What's going on, man?
I'm doing great, Phil. Of course, yeah. Glad that NASCAR finally back. Daytona is here. And yes, the meme is true. Son, it's time for Daytona. So, yeah, I'm glad that it's finally back. And, yeah, Super Bowl was okay. Wasn't great, but at least the Chiefs didn't win. They didn't three-peat. Clint Boyer can go cry. So, I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, that's another thing I forgot about. I mean, it was, listening to Brady, it was tolerable, but that watch was insane. $770,000 watch that didn't look great on TV, but once you'd hear how there's like 70 something yellow diamonds in it, I'm like, oh, okay. Guess the thing looks like pee, but it costs that much. It's all right. But in terms of the game itself, it was a pretty bad Super Bowl, just in quality. But yeah, the Eagles have won a second Super Bowl in the last, 7-8 years or whatever. So credit to that franchise, beating their former coach in the process. So now Andy Reid is 3-3 in the Super Bowl. Interestingly enough, and Kermit the Frog, in both of the times that he's lost the Super Bowl, has gotten beat to hell, which tells you if the 49ers actually knew how to make adjustments in the second half, probably have at least one of those two. But yeah, we'll get into the game, talk about everything that went on with that. We will also get into all the news updates for NASCAR, Indycar, Formula One. GSP Roundup building up a little bit this week with 3 races going on, 3 series, and then we also had Pro Superstar Shootout drag racing, and then the MotoGP testing going on. We will make our picks for the Daytona NASCAR Speedweeks. And this also means, since it is Daytona, it also means it's time for the Tate Fogelman algorithm to come back out of hibernation. Been off since October, and we will see what that lets us know and tells us. So we will get that. Josh will let us know all things going on iRacing gaming in a sim segment, and we'll close the deal. So yeah, the Super Bowl 59 in New Orleans, and a great week for all the people that love the game or whatever going down there. New Orleans has hosted more Super Bowls than any other place. And like other Super Bowls that have been in New Orleans in the past, this game wasn't really a game. 40-22 was the final, but really it was 40-6 for a bit, and it was 24-0 at halftime. Philly had this game on lock basically very early. Kermit the Frog was making bad decisions in large part because he wasn't able to set his feet when his offensive line's not able to hold every single play or jump get false starts. They don't look so good. Chris Jones was somewhat neutralized, especially in the pass game. You know, they decided to stop Saquon, and they did. Problem was they forgot that Philadelphia has AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, um, you know, what is it, Goddard, et cetera, et cetera. And that's where they got beat. They got beat by Jalen Hurts, and that's got to be something because Jalen Hurts, once upon a time, got benched in a national championship game after winning a national title for Alabama, and lost that Super Bowl a couple of years ago. He laid a ball down, and that was a big part of why they lost that game in the end. But this time, I mean, he made one bad pick, but otherwise played pretty solid. And while it wasn't amazing, uh, he was the MVP. Did the job. But that Philly defense, honestly, the MVP should have went to um, Vic Fangio for the game plan that he had. It was almost like he watched the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, played Kansas City, and did a lot of the same things because it had the same kind of feel. So, I mean, I had nothing in this deal. I mean, I went to my cousin, her boyfriend's a Philly fan, so I went there to wearing my Super Bowl 52 gear, and you know, lesser two evils was that them winning. So get the job done, and yeah, another season of football is over. Tells me that I'm yet another thing that I'm delaying on, but in the grand scheme, Josh, not the best Super Bowl by any means, but Philly showed up, did what was necessary, neutralized Kansas City on offense in general, and Kermit the Frog didn't look like uh, himself, and that was a problem because the Kansas City defense did not show up in terms of the pass, and Philly made him pay for it.
Really made them pay for it for sure. And you mentioned Vic Fangio there, which, you know, Vic Fangio had a good defense for a bit in Chicago, and the league kind of copied him the last couple of years in his defense, and that kind of led to what we're seeing right now this past year in defense. And so now that the formula is kind of out there to stop Mahomes, right? Um, which it's pressure. It's just pressure the quarterback, but specifically what they did, they only rushed 4. They didn't blitz the entire game, 0%. So that's the wild part, that how this game transpired, for me seeing that, which speaks to the scheme of the Eagles on defense, but also just the talent that they have. So the talent that they have to be able to do that is incredible to me, and being able to carry out that game plan and only rush 4, and Cooper DeJean, white cornerback, returning it for a touchdown, which is insane there. So yeah, and seeing how that game transpired defensively, and of course the Chiefs. I don't think they were prepared for that. They didn't really make any real adjustments. They couldn't, and then on defense, they really only focused on stopping Saquon, and they kind of disregarded Jalen Hurts' ability to pass, uh, which ended up, they ended up punishing the Chiefs on that end. And you saw with Jalen Hurts making moves and being able to rush when he needed to, and then making throws, down the sideline, um, to AJ Brown, which the first one, shouldn't have been a penalty on him for offensive pass interference. And then, Dotson, of course, almost got the first touchdown um, of the game. And then, throughout it, Jalen Hurts was able just to make plays. So, yeah, obviously credit to him for the Super Bowl MVP. I thought it'd be Saquon, but the Chiefs were able to contain him and everything. So, yeah, it wasn't really that much of exciting of a game, to be honest. But at least if you're an Eagles fan or just rooting against the Chiefs in general, definitely, uh, that was definitely good to see. And I think everybody didn't want to see the Chiefs have a three-peat there. So unless you're a Chiefs fan, so definitely glad that that didn't take place there. Which the only thing I had left to say on this is I did put a crazy parlay on, and I put that on for this game, which I'll go over it real quick. So I just laid down $10 for like 25 or 250,000 odds, or plus 250,000, which highly unlikely. But I had 6 out of 14 lines go through. So I had Patrick Mahomes over half an interception. Saquon anytime didn't go through. Jalen Hurts anytime tush push. Travis Kelsey underperformed in this game significantly, so that didn't go through. As I had him with the anytime touchdown. Um, Patrick Mahomes under 252.5, which I don't think that went through, but um, I mean, it was looking like it was going to be for the most of the game until the very end. Noah Gray, tight end 2, over 1.5 receptions, which he only had one. So didn't think I thought he would have one more at least. AJ Brown over 5.5 catches, didn't get that because they limited him there too. Saquon, of course, got limited. Had him over 110.5 rushing yards. He got limited. Chris Jones over a half sack, didn't go through. Jalen Hurts over 216, which that went through. Jalen Hurts over a half interception, which that went through. He threw one. Jalen Hurts over 36.5, that went through. Jalen Carter over half sack, that didn't go through. And then Kelsey over 6.5, that didn't go through. So had quite a few crazy lines there, which was able to predict that, or call that the both quarterbacks were going to get an interception there, and everything. But a lot of the other stuff didn't go through. But wanted to throw on something crazy and hope that it would go through and see if it would play out, which some of it did, but didn't go through, which is okay. So, yeah, glad the football's over and everything. Glad for the break now, because honestly, from my perspective, and I think from your perspective too, it wasn't a great, except for fantasy, of course, for you at least. But from my team, not doing well this year wasn't great, but at least got a new chapter in that direction. So excited for the off season, how that's going to play out for Jacksonville and everybody else, and get to regroup and get prepared for next season.
Yeah, and then plenty to look at. A lot of changes come in. We got Aaron Rodgers is done in New York with the Jets. You have other things going on, possibilities of some quarterbacks moving around. And then that's just one piece of it. The quarterback class is not strong this year in the draft, so that also plays a part. There's looks like there's going to be movement early in the draft as well, at least at the top. Travis Hunter might end up being the number one pick in the NFL draft, depending on who ends up with that pick. So, you got that. You got the combine coming up. You got free agency combine, draft in April. Got OTAs and all that. So, I mean, even though football theoretically is going to be off for a couple of weeks, they're going to be right back in the mix sooner rather than later. Baseball, that's interesting that pitchers and catchers reporting for a lot of teams too here this week. So that'll be interesting to see how that all pans out for in Major League Baseball, with the fact that they in what is it called, with all the I just got distracted because I got too many pages open. So so baseball starting at least with spring training, and we'll see what happens with that as we go along. We will move into the news of the week first, of course, with NASCAR. And no, nobody is hypnotizing Ronnie and sticking a dildo in his ass. 25th anniversary of Bobby Labonte's championship. Wow. That's crazy to think. That is crazy to think, is 25 years ago. Wow. And that was also, he won the Brickyard 400 that year. And he won that championship. Tony won the most races that year in 2000. Oh, look at that. Briscoe has Dustin Albino wrote a story about Briscoe. All right. Anthony Mackie will be the Grand Marshal for the Daytona 500. You got Go Bowling. I guess Go Bowling must have some connection with Jesus Freaks because they were with Eric Almirillo and now they're with Michael McDowell. Trying to see, so Justin Haley is gonna have the Chili's sponsorship. Okay. Who the hell is Alan? Oh, actor and producer. Alan Richson. Oh, Reacher. Okay.
So,
Oh, okay, yeah. I guess I don't watch I don't watch streaming TV that much, I guess. That's my problem. But
he's on Blue Mountain State, so.
Yeah, not all. Yeah, that I know that show. I just then, we got Jesse. So Werner, premier transportation logistics provider, will be sponsoring Blaine Perkins in the 31 as he brings out cautions every single week. DGM Racing is combining with, or Jesse Awuji is Motorsports is connected in DGM Racing for whatever that's worth. Jeffrey Earnhardt will run a part-time Xfinity schedule with Sam Hunt. I don't know how many races it says. It doesn't say. And Foreverlong's kickoff race. Doesn't show how many races he's gonna do. But yeah, Jeffrey Earnhardt will be with Sam Hunt and driving Toyotas. Not Volpe Foods, Jordan Anderson. That's whatever. That's Nick Leeds. He sucks. Spiked coolers on board with Parker Kligerman on the 75 truck, since he'll be running limited races with that. Christian Rose, they announced that he lost whatever sponsor he was supposed to have for the full season, so now he's out and he'll be running limited schedule. Akinori Ogata announced the team. So there's those are, the main news, of course, is, all the stuff leading up where you got cup haulers came in. We're doing this on Tuesday night, so cup haulers have come in. Wednesday will be cup practice and qualifying. Thursday will be truck practice and the duels. Friday will be very busy with Xfinity and cup practice, truck qualifying in the race, and then Saturday Xfinity qualifying in the race, along with happy hour leading into the 300 on Saturday. So I think the truck yeah, the Cup practice is, I think, might be leading into the Xfinity practice or something like that. But yeah, so yeah, I mean nothing crazy yet. We'll see what happens in regards to uh, qualifying. We'll talk about later. IndyCar was promoted a lot during this past Super Bowl weekend, talking about Pato Award, um, having that commercial. He had they played the Alex Palou one. He had New Garden again. I don't even know who any of those people are for. Oh, it's an electronic. Oh, that's what it is. Electronic artist. All right. Um, the big news in IndyCar comes from uh, the news that Doug Bowles has been named the president of both IndyCar and Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Um, so that's pretty big news. Considering they need I mean, Jay Fry has done a good job to get them to a lot of these places, but they've kind of become stagnant. And Doug Bowles is so well respected in the industry, um, by, I mean, one of the best at what he does. And it's usually like Michael Printup, who used to run Watkins Glen, President Watkins Glen. Now he works for SVRA Trans Am. You don't, like, Brandon Igodalski was running Pocono for after his grandfather, and um, you know, uh, uh, Mattioli, had gave him the reins, and they remade the track, so the NASCAR got him. You can't lose those kind of people. You don't find them very often. So Doug Bowles getting that promotion, uh, big deal. He's great with them. So he's great with the socials. He connects with the fans. He understands racing, not just the fact that he married Connor Daly's mom, but because he is a racer. So that's a great piece of news, and I think that's going to accelerate some of the things that need to happen, whether it's a new car, whether it's a new OEM. I heard that discussion on Sirius Speedway earlier with Adam Stern, because the OEM thing is a big talking point with NASCAR, and the connection, of course, because Jim France runs IMSA, and you have 19 different manufacturers involved in IMSA, and NASCAR hasn't been able to get past 3 since 2012. So it's a big kind of like a glaring hole. I think IndyCar, it's the same deal. So we'll see what happens with that. What are your thoughts, Josh, with the news of Doug Bowles getting announced now as the president of both uh, Indianapolis and the IndyCar series?
I think it's pretty significant. Doug Bowles has been pretty successful, like you said, in leading the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the president of that track, and he's done a good job of being a steward of the speedway and being, somebody who can promote the 500 and the Brickyard 400 and everything else. So from that aspect, um, I agree with this. I think he's somebody who can be a president, like, have a presidential role, and have leadership and have a vision. Whereas Jay Fry, I think nothing wrong with him. I think he's just more of a um, technical person, right? And somebody that very focused on some of the more technical details of the series. Where um, Jay or not Jay Fry, but Bowles, he's big picture ideas, and he can empower others to execute those ideas. So that's definitely, I think, how he's been successful as the president of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and I think he can continue that in being the president of the series. So looking forward to seeing how the series grows under his leadership and um, presidential leadership, I guess. So, um, yeah, I think he's definitely a guy for that role, and I think it's definitely a good move. And considering how we're seeing, like you said, Fox had the three big commercials, which, by the way, I think that was really what I was excited for in this Super Bowl was seeing those commercials on there. So on the screen. So combined with that, with Fox coming in and having a guy with the leadership ability and promotional ability of um, Doug Bowles, now um, IndyCar could be set up to continue to grow and continue to have more publicity and growth and seeing an increase in hopefully an increase in viewership and attendance. Which I mean they've done well in attendance, but I think getting eyeballs, getting more people focused on the series, and seeing all the personalities and promoting all the drivers properly, like what we're seeing with Newgarden, Pato Award, and Alex Palou. I think he's going to do a great job in being able to facilitate all of that.
Yeah, it's a after recent years where the off seasons have not been positive, this is a rare instance in recent years where IndyCar has been winning, uh, with the announcement, the TV deal. They keep basically the announced crew in the booth. You get Buxton to leave Formula One to be the lead announcer. They haven't announced who's working on pit road yet. That's something to be um, figured out. But now you have the uh, change with the Doug Bowles. You have a full viable field. You got better promotion, which for decades we've been saying promotion's been terrible. We'll see how long it lasts with Fox. They usually overdo it. Then they do bad coverage, and then it goes down the shitter. That's usually how Fox does things. Um, in terms of Formula One, um, main news they McLaren re-signed their chief aerodynamicist. Um, then the other big piece was Williams signing a brand new title partnership. Um, Atlassian, an
So
Australian.
I use that a lot at work, so I know
Yeah,
about them.
interesting. Yeah. So I never heard of them, but you have. So I guess you can tell us about the new title sponsor for Williams.
Yeah. Last thing is just a software organizational tool. Allows people to keep track of tasks and um, allows teams to organize their software and um, host all the code base like in one main repository and allow people to easily access all of that and modify code, upload code through that, and then it has tools for like management to understand progress for software teams and what tasks are being done currently, what needs to be done, and what how much the software, how much the team is producing in terms of work. I mean, there's some terminology there in software engineering, but yeah, that's basically what is Atlassian tools. So yeah, the pretty interesting to see that. Yeah, we call it. I mean, that's the the organization. Yeah, they basically they have a suite of tools used by pretty much every company uses them. It's either them or Microsoft has some tools, but a lot of companies use their suite of software to, organize and um, continue their efforts in software engineering. So that's pretty cool, I think, to see a company like that enter the sphere of motorsports. And I guess now when I watch F1, I'll be reminded a little bit of work in a little way.
Yeah, we'll see if Williams actually has at last seeing up front. It doesn't sound like they're going to have that this year, but they're playing more towards the new technical regulations with this solid driver pairing that they have now with Alex Albon and Carlos Sainz. But yeah, that's a big deal for them moving into the new formula here next year. In terms of other things, Fish Lips signed a deal with AlphaTauri. Of course, that's a Red Bull brand. They're showing stuff with Mercedes and Adidas, who they've signed the new deal with for a tire after Puma's been their supplier for many years. They had the F1 movie trailer during, they played on commercials during the Super Bowl. So there is that. What's it called? Arvin Lindblad now has a super license after winning a championship down in Australia and not Australia, New Zealand. So Formula Oceania regional title. I love how you can go and win like random titles in random places, but then they don't rate IndyCar or NASCAR, but that's beside the point with the FIA. Jacques Villeneuve and Jenson Button, Jamie Chadwick will all be part of Williams as ambassadors. Of course, Jacques Villeneuve was the 1997 world champion, as of now the last world champion for Williams, in a great battle with M. Schumacher. Jenson Button started his career at Williams before moving on to multiple other organizations and becoming a world champion himself. And Jamie Chadwick, who was in Indy Next last year and is a 3-time W Series champion, trying to extend her career, trying to figure out what she's going to be doing here as in the next year or two, in terms of her future, trying to get an IndyCar ride, perhaps. Cadillac, the Cadillac Ferrari connection. They're trying to source as many parts from Ferrari, same way as Haas does. So we'll see how that works. They already get engine gearbox, trying to do suspension as well. So we'll see what happens with that. So I think that is it for F1 in terms of news. So was there anything else that you saw that
Seen it's there, but I'll say though, if you watch the F1 trailer, they did have the scene or brief clip of the Rolex 24 fireworks show from last year when they filmed there, which it's pretty cool. I think seeing Daytona being featured in an F1 movie, so glad to see that there, and hopefully it ends up being a good movie.
I hope so, and might actually have a reason to go to the movies again, to go and watch that one. So we'll see what happens with that. New season to gag racing. So that's awesome. Debut first NHRA Canopy A Field dragster. Oh, okay, interesting. Because she's driving for Antron Brown. Troy Coughlin. Okay. So, yeah, so the winners at the Pro Superstar Shootout Invitational event saw um, saw what is it? Sean Reed getting his first win, professional win in of his career. And you also had Ron Capps, who last year failed to qualify for the event. And then Troy Coughlin Jr. in Pro Stock. So interesting. It was an interesting final in Top Fuel because it was a chip draw until, of course, we got to the final. Sean Reed beating Josh Hart, who Josh Hart had beaten Tony Stewart in round one, who smoked the tires around, I think, not around 660, around 400 feet. He got off the line, went a little bit, and then smoked the tires. And Josh Hart, who wasn't super fast, wasn't having an amazing car, was able to advance and then get through to the final. And in terms of, Reed went 369 with a 330.39 miles an hour. For Caps, beat Austin Prock, 387, 330.47 miles an hour in his Napa car. And then Troy Coughlin Jr. Corey, so it is a KB Titan versus Elite Battle. Coughlin, so he won because Corey Reed red lit, and Corey Reed had a great car, qualified number one, but unfortunately made the mistake on the line there in the final. So that's that in terms of that race. The next thing is, of course, testing leading into Gainesville here in a few weeks' time. So that will keep track of that accordingly. In MotoGP, testing taking place, and they also previewed all the bikes and the liveries. In terms of, and last week's test at Malaysia saw defending world champion Jorge Martin, Fabio Di Gianantonio, Raul Fernandez. Those three guys got injured. Martin and Di Gianantonio are not going to be riding. Raul Fernandez, who rides for Trackhouse, will be available. Talking about Yamaha, former world champion Fabio Quartararo was able to put good times together on his Yamaha, and his teammates, Alex Rins, of course, on the main team, and then the satellite Pramac team with Oliveira and Miller. The Yamahas seemed more competitive for the first time in a while. Ducati factory effort, Pecco Bagnaia and Marc Marquez. That battle, it's going to go on the whole year. Watch out for me now to hear something Revelation. So the Ducatis in general, we're going to have to look at those guys. The KTMs, we're going to see what happens with them in general, with their financial situation with KTM going on. Hondas are still at a deficit, and Aprilia is at a deficit as well. So we'll see what comes of that here at Borium for this second test. So we'll update that next week accordingly. Supercross was a first-time winner and a huge result for the first time ever. Malcolm Stewart getting the victory in 450 class, getting his first win, won by over 7 seconds over Cooper Webb. Jason Anderson rounding out the podium. Justin Cooper, Chase Sexton rounding out the top 5. Barsha, Savachi, Plessinger, those were the only riders on the lead lap. Eli Tomac was riding through an injury and struggled to 17th. Ken Roxon crashed while battling for the lead. So that was brutal for him. But the big news was Malcolm Stewart getting that victory on a home game, and his brother, of course, the legend James Bubba Stewart, was there to watch his little brother win. Huge to see that. Been rooting for Malcolm ever since, just in general, last few years, and he got more serious, and to go and get this job done here is huge. Of course, Jet Lawrence being out the rest of the Supercross season is going to affect some things as well. But as it stands, Chase Sexton, 5-point lead over Cooper Webb, and 17 over Anderson, 18 over Roxon, and 21 over Eli Tomac. Was it 24 points over Malcolm Stewart? So all those guys right now are still within a race. So we'll see how things move forward as I go to Detroit. The 250 East started their season, and Monster Energy had a top 4. First two being Yamahas, the next 2 being Kawasaki's. Max Anstey over Daxton Bennick, teammates for Yamaha. Cameron McAdoo and Seth Hamaker for Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki. 3rd and 4th. Tom Vial defending East champion. Finished 5th. And then Chance Hymas was 6th. You got Nate Thrasher in 8th. Levi Kitchen 9th. Carson Mumford in 10th. You had Austin Faulkner riding for Triumph, had issues. Pierce Brown as well for Yamaha. And then, so that's those are the guys there. So we move on from Tampa last week to Detroit this weekend indoor. So I'll have a couple of indoor races the next couple of weeks, Detroit and Arlington, before they go back out for the Daytona Supercross at the start of March. So we'll see if that makes a difference or plays any role in the results these next couple of weeks. Move forward. Formula E at Jeddah for a doubleheader. And So Idris Elba. Oh, so the Kiro Racing Group. Idris Elba's has joined the ownership there. So the actor, rookies taking part in the Jeddah Rookie Free Practice. They got that going on. The standings heading into this doubleheader in the Drivers' Championship. Antonio Felix da Costa leads after 2 second-place finishes and a fastest lap at Brazil. Over Oliver Rowland, who won at Mexico. Mitch Evans, who won at Brazil. Then Pascal Wehrlein, defending world champion. Taylor Barnard, Jake Dennis, Sam Bird, John-Eric Verne, Nick DeVries, Eduardo Mortara, rounding out your top 10. In the team's championship, Tag Heuer Porsche has a 31-point lead over Neo McLaren. The battle from second on back is pretty close. You got McLaren, Jaguar, Nissan, Mahindra, and DS Penske all close together within 7 points. And then in the manufacturers, Porsche and Nissan are only separated by 1 point, so that's a little more competitive. And we'll see how the first doubleheader of the season goes. Jeddah, and then they take 2 months off between these rounds and then the next round in Miami before another doubleheader early in May at Monaco. So, and then another they're going to have 3 consecutive doubleheaders after the Miami round. You'll have Monaco and Tokyo and Shanghai all in the month of May, or at least starting in the month of May. So it'll get really busy then to finish out the season, or that'll be the heart of the season right there. Rally Sweden, WRC, Ogier won at Monte Carlo, and we will see how we'll see what the rally. It's usually where the Scandinavians dominate. This round, it's the only one on snow and ice, so it's usually a non-Scandinavian winning is very rare. But we will see if what happens accordingly. Trying to get in. There you go. That is exactly what I wanted. So 12 cars in Rally 1. So the 12 cars in Rally 1, Ford will have 4 cars in this rally. Munster and McElwain, the regulars. Then you have Martin Six. I don't know. He's got enough marks all over his name. I don't know if I could pronounce his name anyway. And Jordan Serdardis, I think. Sorry, I butchered your name too. They need to go and give you a pronunciation thing just to pronounce some of these fucking people's names. Got Hyundai will have 3 cars there. So 4, 3, 7. That means Toyota will have 5. Yeah. Hyundai with defending world champion Thierry Neuville, Otanek, and then Adrian Formeau. Toyota, Efren Evans, Takamoto Katsuda, Kali Rovampera, Sammy Pajari, and Lorenzo Bertelli. That'll be the Toyota thing. So watch for Sammy Pajari, the defending WRC2 champ. Kali Rovampera, two-time World Rally champion as well. I would say that it would probably be one of those two or Otanek that would be the favorites going into this round. The only snow and ice round of the season. Yeah, so I mean the Rally 2 grid is very deep in terms of car quality and driver quality. You have Oliver Solberg leading the pack with that. We'll see how he's able to do, and we'll update it next week on the GSP. Okay, so we've gone through all those things, so that opens up NASCAR and Speedweeks in earnest. So, first order of business is making our picks for the front row for the Daytona 500. I mean, there has to be, I guess it's probably on Racing Reference, but so I'll bring it up then. In terms of qualifying at Daytona, that's entry, the fantasy stats. Last 10 races at Daytona, active drivers. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 drivers that have qualified on pole. Bowman, of course, with 2. Briscoe, Kyle Larson, and Richard. Pizza Face, and Michael McDowell. Pizza Face qualified on pole for last year's 500. And then McDowell qualified on pole in the summer race. Richard qualified on pole for the 500. I think did Larson get a pole in the 500?
Yeah.
I guess he did. I'm not
2022.
Yeah, so there you go. Yeah, 2022 Daytona 500. And then he actually started on pole. It says he started on pole for both races in 22, but I guess the other two were because of points that he got the pole. So, and it's crazy to think he had 3 pole starts and has only led 20 laps at Daytona in the last 10 races. Of course, he didn't run all 10. 1, 2, 3, 4. He ran 9. Okay, so he only missed 1. Yeah, so that in terms of average start, the last 10 races at Daytona, Larson, it's kind of skewed just because of one less race, but he has the best average start. Joey Logano, for running the last 10 races, has an average start of 8th. Bowman, average start just under 10. Brad Keselowski, you have a cluster there. Brad Keselowski, Christopher Bell, Will Byron, and William Clyde Elliott II. Gumby Cindric, well-known plate racer, Christopher Buescher, and YRB, rounding out the top 10. I mean, I look at it's, for me, it's hard to kind of, I kind of just want to go with a Hendrick car, just because, but the Fords have been really fast recently at the plate races. And I'm trying to, and I think it would be pretty funny or interesting to see, and you know what, I might as well. I was thinking this last week or a couple weeks ago when they were doing the Clash or whatever, and I'm like, and this just came into my head that there's been fathers and sons who have qualified on pole for the Daytona 500, I think, because Mr. the King, I feel like he has been on the pole in the Daytona 500. But either way, Kyle qualified on pole in 1993 and should have won the race, or was in a good position to possibly win that race. We know that Austin Bill from Dawsonville and William Clyde Elliott II have both qualified on pole for the Daytona 500. And I am going to say that Todd Gilliland is going to qualify on pole for the Daytona 500. And then just because of continuity's sake, I will say Hendrick Carr, I'll say Alex Bowman. So that's what I'll put in. So Daytona 500 pole qualifying. Phil goes with Todd Gilliland pole and Alex Bowman outside pole. How about you, Josh?
I'm also going to go with a Ford and Chevy combination here. And I'm going to say that Christopher Buescher goes out and wins the pole. And second on the front row, go with Mr. William Clyde Elliott II getting second there.
Pole. Yeah, he was at the Super Bowl, Clyde, randomly there, so got on TV. They're mentioning the 500. So that'll be, we'll see what happens with qualifying. I think the next question would be, who are the cars that go home? So it's, what is it, 9 for 4? Yeah, so nine cars for 4 spots at least. Could be 5, but Elio Castro-Neves has the promoter's option, provisional or whatever you want to call it, to fall back on. Just means they won't get any prize money if they were to take that promoter's option. So, I mean, I look at this. I mean, you got some strong cars. I mean, Jimmy Johnson really wants to make this race so that he can get his 700 starts at the Coke 600 and I guess stop driving cup cars. In terms of who I think will go home, I mean, I think it's chalk. I think, or you know what, I might as well say who's gonna make it in. All right, that make it easier on myself. I'll say Johnson, Allgaier, Truex, Johnson, Allgaier, Truex, and then the one outlier, I'm gonna say is Anthony Alfredo, because Beard Motorsports has shown well on these plate races. And then that means that Helio Castroneves would take the promoter's option. That would send home Corey LaJoy, JJ Haley, Chandler Smith, and BJ McLeod. Could have probably went. I was between the Alfredo car and BJ McLeod to see who would be the choice. Of course, two cars are going to lock in based on speed. So if you're one of the two fastest open cars on Wednesday night, you will make the show. So that's another way Castroneves could get himself in without having to take that promoter's option. And then that would mean 5 cars would go home in that sense. So it's interesting. There's going to be a lot of intrigue there. What do you say, Josh, for who you think who's in and who's out on those open cars? The most competitive open field I think we've had in a long, long time.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm gonna go with just the favorites, the favored guys to get in. Allgaier, Truex, Johnson, and Elio. Um, I just have a hard time believing that any of those guys gonna not be in the race. And I think even so, like you said, qualifying, I think the two Chevys can probably qualify their way in on speed. I think, yeah, Elio and Allgaier, I think, they have a lot of Chevy support. Chevy's fast enough. I think you can see them get in on speed. I don't think the two Toyotas and Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex, I don't think they have good enough qualifying speed to get in on that alone. So we'll see. But I think those four, and I think the rest, you know, the 62, I mean, that's kind of the wild card here, and maybe the 78, but the 62, like they've always been good on making it in, but I think it's just going to be too much with a lot of these, the favorites of the open teams trying to, have an effort to get in. Although I could see Jimmy Johnson missing the race because he almost did last year, um, and barely made it in over JJ Yaley. So there's definitely an opportunity there for him. So it's going to be close, but I definitely think it's going to be the four big names out of that 9 open cars.
That was the one other thing I was thinking also. I'm like, Johnson is flirting with disaster the way he's run uh, recently in the car, especially with this car, the Gen 7. And you add the draft to the mix too. It might end up being a draw thing in terms of who he draws in his duel. If he has one of his team cars in there, like Eric Jones or John Hunter, if he has somebody that's willing to work with him, it might end up being that to go and get in the show. Okay, so we will then move over to the truck series race. That is the Fresh from Florida 250. 38 trucks for 36 spots. Sawalich in the 1, 0-2. They still haven't put anybody in there. I swear they announced something, but whatever. Josh Rayum they got the number 2 this year. Mason Maggio driving for Hettinger Racing. I don't remember what team they took over for. They bought that equipment from I feel like it's the guy who drove the 32 last year. That's who they bought the equipment from. Breidinger driving for Tricon full-time. Norm Benning trying to make an attempt. Michael McDowell and Justin Haley doing double duty, trying to make the truck race and then also run the 500. They both have to qualify on speed. Or actually, Haley probably doesn't have to qualify on speed because they have enough points. The McDowell would have to. Enfinger was one of the championship 4 last year. Corey Heim, perennial favorite in the season. Jake Garcia for Thorsport. Tanner Gray, Gio Ruggiero for Tricon. Then the McAnally Trucks, Tyler Ankrum, Daniel Hemrick, Jason White for Reum, Dawson Sutton for Rackley War, Brian Doza for FDNY Racing, Frankie Muniz for Reum Brothers. First race for the 2-truck Front Row Motorsports team, Lane Riggs and Chandler Smith. Then you have Nice Motorsports, which will have Matt Mills, of course, running full-time again, even though he sucks. Bailey Curry driving the 44, and then Caden Honeycutt in the 45. Duval in the 52, Timmy Hill in the 56. Johnny Sauter, former winner of this race, former Truck Series champion in the Thor Sport 66. Raja Caruth with Bono Mannion this year, and the HendrickCars.com Chevy for Spire. Parker Kligerman, as I mentioned, running a limited schedule with Henderson Motorsports. Spencer Boyd. Then you have Andres Perez de Lara, the ARCA Series champion from last year for Spire. Connor Mozak driving for McAnally Hilgeman in the 81. I don't know why 88. They have 80. You're telling me that the 88 and
They
the
just
98.
announced
Yeah.
the 88's gonna be Crafton. I don't know why they still have it blank.
I don't know how. Yeah, you have Matt Crafton, who's who's been in the Truck Series since Ford Model Ts were around, and then the defending series champion in Ty Majeski just conveniently missing. Jack Wood running full time and crashing every week for McAnally Hilgeman. Ben Rhodes, multi-time champion, the 99 there. So miss Justin Carroll, Clay Greenfield. Who cares? Greenfield, if he does make the show, does have good opportunity in the draft there. But I'll go first so then we can get the real drama going. My pick to win this race is going to be I'm going to take momentum. I'm going to take what was going on late in the year last year, and I'm going to say Lane Riggs because Front Row Motorsports has shown very well in recent years in super speedways, and he'll start his season off right. Lane Riggs as my pick to win. My wild card selection for this race will be, I will go with, see, that's not a wild card. I can't call that a wild card. So I will say Andres Perez will be the wild card, my wild card. He'll actually make it through all the destruction and get a finish out of this deal in his first full-time truck race. Um, Truck Series picks. So Phil goes with what say you, Josh, and what does the algorithm say?
For me, my pick to win the race, I would say that Justin Haley steals the win as a Cup driver. I think he's a really good super speedway racer, and he has experience winning at Daytona, right? 2019 Coke Zero 400. So I think Spire. They're also. I think they have a really good super speedway program. So I think they be up front, the three of them. 71 and Rogers and that. So they have four cars actually with McDowell in the '07 and um, Raja and um, Perez, like you said. So um, and Haley. So yeah, I think Justin Haley steals this win in from the regulars and the trucks. My wild card, um, I guess I'm gonna go with Connor Mosak here as a wild card in the McAnally 81 here. So that's what I'll go with here. I mean, it's gonna be interesting how that plays out here, but the algorithm is throwing us for a loop here because it says that the actor known as Frankie Muniz is going to come out here and win in the Truck Series at Daytona. How big would that be?
If Malcolm in the Middle somehow or another wins in the middle of a 3 wide, it'll write itself. We're talking about Formula One movie. They're talking about Days of Thunder 2. They need the actor to do Days of Thunder 2, so why not? And if he goes and wins a Truck Series race in a goddamn Rayoon Brothers truck, that might set the whole entire. That might go and heal the pains of the world or something. That'd be pretty ridiculous. I mean, we've had ridiculous winners, John King, and of course, you know, Tate Fogelman
At
and
Talladega.
Spencer. It was Spencer Boyd or whatever. Like there's been a few recently. We've had people who are one and dones. So if Frankie Muniz, I mean, believe me, now I have a better reason to actually root for him. I wasn't just rooting for him because he's a Ford guy, but it would be great for the brand if we'd have to name it the Malcolm in the Middle algorithm or something. We'd have to do some reference to him. What is it, Agent Cody Banks algorithm, some reference if it happens, just has to be, because that's why this is there. I honestly, it's for that pick. That's where the fun starts. So now I actually have a reason to watch the truck race to see if somehow or another Frankie Muniz can actually, he never won an ARCA race or ARCA whatever the hell, kind of sort of was top 5 finisher. He'll go to Daytona in a truck and his like 4th truck start and go and win a damn truck race. That'd be insane. But hey, it's Daytona. So he had Trevor Bayne in his 2nd Cup start go and win the Daytona 500. So the Xfinity Series starts our 2025 season with the United Rentals 300. There are 41 cars for 38 spots. So 3 cars will go home. You got Sheldon Creed driving the 00 for the new HFT organization. Carson Quapple and the 1 for Junior Motorsports, Jesse Love, who did really well in qualifying and in the super speed races in general. Parker Retzloff driving for Alpha Prime this year. Our Motorsports with Chris Wrong Patrick Emmerling for SS Greenlight, defending series champion Justin Allgaier in the brand Professional Agriculture Chevy. You wouldn't know that he's saying brand Professional Agriculture as fast as he says it. Sammy Smith won at Talladega last fall, driving the 8. The new 8, the new old 8, because it's Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s old 8 on that. Daniel Dye who's Michael Waltrip's Wet Dream, driving for Colleague. Daniel Dye is a good bowler. Josh Williams, of course, back for another year with Colleague. And you have Garrett Smithley, SS Greenlight. Christian Eckes making his debut for Colleague Racing in the 16, taking over for AJ Allmendinger. William Sawalich running the full Xfinity schedule. Justin Bonsignor, the multi-time NASCAR Modified champion, running a limited schedule in the 19. Buckshot Jones driving the 20 this year. Hank Hill with a new crew chief. Ryan Truex Jr. in the 24 for Sam Hunt. Was it Harrison Burton, and running the number 25 this year. It was a 15 last year. It'll be the number 25 this year for AM Racing, and Danny Eflin, former driver, now a crew chief, will be his crew chief. Dean Thompson, another wreck waiting to happen, driving the 26 for Sam Hunt. Jeb Burton, back for another year with Jordan Anderson. Kyle Sieg, don't know who's in the 29. Blaine Perkins, so those are 3 cautions. Jordan Anderson. We got Greg Van Alst with Joey Gase. Ryan Sieg, of course, with his number 39. Sam Mayer driving the other Haas factory team, Ford, this year. Anthony Alfredo driving for Young's Motorsports in the 42. Brennan Poole for Alpha Prime. Cesar Baccarella in the 45. The co-owner. Nicholas Sanchez listed there, but Nick Sanchez in the Big Machine 48. Jeremy Clements, former winner at Daytona, in the 51. Joey Gase in the 53, his own 53. Jason Ratcliffe back on the box, working with Taylor Gray on the 54. Leland Honeyman driving for Cope Family Racing. Whatever. Then Ryan Ellis driving for DGM and Jesse Wuji. The 74, which is Carson Ware. Then you have Connor Zilich in the WeatherTech 88 for JRM. Josh Balicki, CJ McLaughlin, the other 2 DGM. And then Matt DiBurrito with Pat Tryson as his crew chief. Viking Motorsports Chevy. We'll continue the pattern here. For me, my winner for this race on Saturday, I will say, I'm going to say Jesse Love. It's pretty, I guess it's more of a chalk safe pick. Because the RCR cars are really fast at the plate tracks, so Jesse Love trying to get his 2025 season started right with a dub at Daytona. My wild card pick, I mean, I think there was about 3 different people I could say that I was looking at as a wild card. And actually, if I really get into it, it could be more. But I will. I mean, and it's kind of towing a line with probably a couple of them. But I will say Matt DiBurrito as the wild card. Now that's towing a line. He's a former Cup Series driver. He has experience on the plate tracks. He's done well in plate races over his career in lesser equipment. This team supposedly has decent funding, so they're an offshoot from a Sieg team. They're going to Chevy. I forget who the connection is where they're getting equipment. But yeah, I think DiBurrito would be a solid wild card option for me. So for Xfinity Series, Phil goes with and I remember now I said, yeah, okay, there you go. Jesse Love to win and DiBurrito wild card. All right, Josh. What about you? What are your picks and what does Tate Fogelman say?
He gonna go with Ryan Truex Jr. Winning the Xfinity race in the Sam Hunt 24. And then my wild card, I'm going to go with Nick Sanchez, which seems a little high, but I mean, he is a rookie right now, right? So in the Xfinity series, and he's been successful at super speedways, so in the truck series, but like kind of like your theory there with DiBurrito, like Nick Sanchez, he's rookie here in the Xfinity series now in the 48, replacing Parker Kligerman. So, I think he could be a wild card threat here on Saturday. And then the algorithm, it's a little bit more reasonable in this one because he's going to go with, and maybe very fittingly, go with Sammy Smith in the 8 car, in the junior 8 car there, which the return of the number 8 font from the old days at Chance 2 Motorsports and Dale Earnhardt Incorporated there, winning at Daytona. What a sight that would be for all them fans there that still root for Dale Jr. So go with that, or it says that. So
So last but not least, of course, the Great American Race, the Daytona 500. It's the Super Bowl I've been saying for the last few days. It's a Super Bowl I was actually looking forward to. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's like Christmas for NASCAR fans, even though the race has just become a demo derby over the past decade plus, but it's still the Daytona 500. You still want to win the race. It still matters. You go and win this thing, you're Daytona 500 champion forever. You win this thing, you also get locked into the playoffs, and then you have 25 weeks to prepare for the playoffs. Yeah, so go through the entry list. Of course, 45 cars for what could be 40 or 41 spots. Corey LaJoie driving the 0-1 for Rick Ware. Then Ross Chastain, Busch Light, Trackhouse, Gumby Cindric, former winner of this race. Brian Wilson is crew chief with Discount Tire. Bald Spot Dylan with Richard Boswell now as his crew chief. And Bass Pro and Winchester. former winner of this race. Gagson and Blickensderfer together still, but now at Front Row Motorsports in the Kevin Harvick stylized 4 with Rush Truck Centers. We know what the 5 car is. Brad Keselowski, possibly the best driver that hasn't won this race outside of the guy that I'm about to mention in a couple of cars, but been close before. Jeremy Bullen's back, working with him as crew chief with Kroger and Cottonelle on the 6 car. Chili's ride the Dente number 7 for Justin Haley and Rodney Childers trying to win the Daytona 500. Kyle Busch in his 20th year trying to win this race. In the 8, Clyde coming off of the Clash win. Can he go and get a Daytona 500 victory to match his dad? What do you call Ty Dillon and the 10 for Colleague. 3-time Daytona 500 winner Denny Hamlin with Chris Gale as his crew chief. National Debt Relief, Ryan Blaney. Is Menards. Number 12, AJ Allmendinger at Celsius. Trent Owens. Combination number 16, Christopher Buescher, who Josh picked for the pole, driving the Fastenal Mustang. Chase Briscoe in his first regular race for Joe Gibbs Racing, Bass Pro Shops, James Small in the Toyota. Christopher Bell with DeWalt and Interstate on his number 20. Adam Stevens as his crew chief. Josh Berry driving a Motorcraft Quick Lane Ford for Wood Brothers Racing. Miles Stanley. Former Daytona 500 winner Joey Logano, the defending series champion. 3-time series champion. Shell Pennzoil Ford. Dal Walsh Jr. with Charles Denicky as his crew chief, trying to has finished second in this race twice, trying to win the Daytona 500. Will Byron, the defending winner of the Daytona 500, but the Exalta car with Rudy Fugle. Chris Lawson, I mentioned Todd Gilliland to win the pole. The Front Row Motorsports Loves Travel Stops Ford. Riley Herbst, Monster Energy Zero Sugar, 2311 Toyota, Davin Restivo. Zane Smith, Speedy Cash, Front Row, Ryan Bergenti. There, the first of the open cars here. First of the open cars, a Junior Motorsports 40 for Justin Allgaier and Traveler Whiskey. Cole Custer with the A. Haas Factory Team Ford, number 41. John Hunter Nemechek Dollar Tree Toyota for Legacy. Eric Jones Advent Health Legacy Toyota, number 43. Ben Bayshore, his crew chief. J.J. Yaley Green River Whiskey, number 44 for NY Racing Team. Tyler Reddick, Nasty Beast Toyota. Richard in the Sonny D Chevrolet, he's a former Daytona 500 pole sitter and winner for the new Hayek Motorsports team. Alex Bowman, Blake Harris, the Ally Chevy for Hendrick. Cody Ware driving the Parts Plus Jacob Construction 51 for his dad. Keebler Gibbs, Monster Energy Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. That Truax kid from Mayetta, New Jersey, with Cole Pern coming out from hibernation and the ski slopes to come back and crew chief a Tricon Garage Run Toyota, Bass Pro Tracker Boats Toyota. Ryan Priest built submarines Ford for RFK. Anthony Alfredo, Fortified Building Solutions, Beard Motorsports, Chevy, Chandler Smith with the Garage 66 Quick Tie, Ford Mustang, Carlon Crew Chiefing, Spire Motorsports, you got Go Bowling on Michael McDowell 71, Travis Peterson, Carson Osavar with the defending Rookie of the Year, Ziegler Auto Group, Luke Lambert, Spire, Live Fast, Motorsports, BJ McLeod, Carvana, Chad Johnston, Jimmy Johnson, Legacy, then Trackhouse, Shane Van Gisbergen, and the WeatherTech 88, Steven Doran, his crew chief, Elio Castro Neves, and the Wendy Chevy, number 91, Darian Grubb, his crew chief, former winner of this race, in a fill-in role in 2006. And then Matt Swiderski, Freeway Insurance, Daniel Suarez, who won at Atlanta last year. So that's the field for Daytona 500. My choice to win the race is going to be Ryan Blaney, because he's one of the best plate racers there is. Penske Fords are always strong at these tracks. He's done everything but win this race. And it would be a great Valentine's Day weekend present for his new wife. Go and get her a Daytona 500 champion ring. On top of the big rock that he put on her finger a couple of months ago. Yeah, so I'll say YRB as my choice to win the Daytona 500. YRB to win. And my wild card pick for this race, honestly, it's like, who's going to be around? Like, who's going to last? That is, yeah, you know what? Like, I'm getting really sick with it. I'm going to, because it's not like I'm ever right with these picks anyways, so no offense to YRB or Jesse Love or Lane Riggs, but I'm going to pick Ty Dillon because he has a habit of avoiding wrecks, probably because he sucks, but in this race, you want to be there at 500 miles and past 500 miles, and Ty Dillon seemingly has that ability to be there. So I'm just going with the fact that he's gonna take a conservative approach, and that should be safe for somebody who's not really that good, but we'll see what happens with that. Josh, you have the floor now because you get to go and make your picks and then the algorithm, and then get into the sim segment too.
Yeah. So for me, my pick for the race win, I'm gonna pick Tyler Reddick. I think he's a really good super speedway racer, and he's figured out how to be at the front of these races. And we've seen him. He won the duels last year, and probably could have had a chance to win the 500 last year as well. So I'm gonna pick him to win the race. My wild card, I'm gonna go with Josh Berry here. He's a good wild card, especially with the Wood Brothers racing here. They've always been a threat to win at Daytona. And as long as he can hang around out front, I think Josh Berry can be the guy in there. And not wild card, but the algorithm pick for this, the 38 Todd Gilliland. So you picked him to win the pole. Or Zane Smith. I'm sorry, Zane Smith. I got those numbers confused. So Zane Smith, which isn't all that far out there, but yeah, I mean it's a Ford, and they know how to be up front as well. So yeah, Zane Smith as a algorithm pick here for this year's Daytona 500. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, yeah, it's gonna be tough to predict, and yeah, you're right. It's gonna be all about who hangs around at the end. And honestly, my only hope for this race is we don't see any more of that fuel saving BS that we've seen the last year or so here at this race and at Talladega as well. Because yeah, it was entertaining to see them 4 wide at Talladega or 3 wide here at Daytona, but it's like, oh wait a minute, they're only going like 80% here, and just kind of riding around trying to save fuel and stuff. So we'll see how that plays out with the stages and everything, and maybe hopefully, I mean, it's a survival race, but maybe hopefully, they get spread out at the end somehow, so we kind of see, like, if you remember the first duel in 2022 or the second duel, whichever one it was, the one that Joey Logano and Chris Buescher were in, and Logano wrecked it, spread out to where there was only like 4 cars um, there at the end of the 4 Fords up front. So maybe we'll see something similar here play out, and we see the maybe a group of cars, like a group of Fords or a group of Toyotas, like we saw last spring, that had a plan to figure it out towards the end. Maybe they all, get separated and we see a smaller pack kind of dueled out, kind of like what the old days back in the 90s, where it kind of came down to a pack of 5 cars or so that could have had a shot to win the race. So that's what I'm hoping for here as far as the race playing out. So yeah, that's my pick there. And then I guess, yeah, the sim segment, which to lead off there, of course, the iRacing Daytona 500 is this weekend as well, or this week. So I think starting tonight all the way up until Sunday night at 9 p.m., the iRacing Daytona 500 is available to run. Of course, alternating between fixed and open setup, which I think right now for me, aiming to do the 9 p.m. open setup. Of course, that's provided I get home on time from the airport and stuff. So, uh, otherwise, probably do Saturday or Sunday for it. Um, and possibly use one of the fixed races as a backup in case I don't win. Um, Although that'd be definitely dedicating a lot of time to sim racing in addition to following all the races at Daytona this weekend. So we'll see, and we'll see how that goes. But um, yeah, just gonna try to survive there and try to strategize my way. Maybe hit up one of my friends that I've made through the iRacing um 24 hours of Daytona, then maybe you could spot for me or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. That's gonna be tough because I think they're probably all focused on the iRacing 12 hours of Bathurst and stuff. So we'll see how that goes. But in any event, gonna try to, you know, try to just stay out of it, out of the wrecks and stuff, and just try to be upfront, try to strategize to be there at the end and have a chance, because that's all you need is have a chance. And just stay out of the wrecks and um, just be there to try to make a move for the win at the end, and hopefully it'll play out this year. But because definitely I think, yeah, last year or the year before, I think had a shot and just came came within, making, yeah, being able to make it, and didn't play out. So we'll see how it goes this year with the iRacing Daytona 500, and hopefully add that to the many lists of accolades that I have here. Um, yeah, you mentioned here. So we'll see how that goes. And I guess the other thing on iRacing for me is that I finally got promoted in road class from Class C to Class B. So finally, I've been I think I was last year at the start of the year before they split the road license into the sports car and formula license. Um, Last year I was Class B on the road side. And then the learning how to rain race kind of tanked my rating all the way down to like Class D and sports cars, and then slowly been trying to work my way back up, and having inconsistencies and stuff of that, and got into Class C at some point last year, and still pretty streaky even through that. But now, ever since running the 24 hours, been trying to improve on road racing and be a lot more consistent. So, this past week, when I've had the time, um, been running the road racing and, ran various series on the road on the sports car side, and definitely raced fairly clean, incident free, and fairly consistent in pace and everything, and didn't take too many chances and try to race reasonable and not like force the issue like I felt like I've had so many times in the past year, trying to learn road racing and or get better at that. And now, I feel like I'm in a good spot for that. So, continue to focus on that and get better and go through it, and hopefully, that'll put me in a better position next year for the Rolex iRacing Rolex 24 or the iRacing Sebring if I am able to do that, or any other road racing event, special event where definitely can be on par with the rest of my team, hopefully. So we'll see how that goes, but definitely glad to gotten that out of the way and finally, because it definitely opens up, as you progress in class in iRacing, as you're maybe learning this, as you play sort of iRacing at your sim racing league, as you progress in class, that opens up the available series to compete in. So for me, now Class B, that opens up some of the prototype leagues that are available and some of the other road racing leagues for IMSA that are available, and definitely get more experience with some of the longer races there that I can compete in. So I'm glad to have done that and everything, and get to that ranking. So hopefully, I can continue to progress and get better in that and get to Class A, and definitely be consistent and incident free. Hopefully, which is hard because road racing, with off tracks, you get incident points for that, and it's easy to lose the car and stuff and get incident points that way. So glad I've been able, since the racing iRacing 24 hours, to race consistently and race clean. And definitely, credit to my teammates there for kind of helping me understand that and understanding when to make moves and stuff, and especially in multi-class racing. So glad to do that. But um, as far as for me, yeah, of course, iRacing, the stream, of course, for Daytona 500, Twitch TV, USailor 2, go on there and watch that, and we'll go through it and hopefully come out there on the front, and otherwise be entertaining to watch, I think, throughout. So we'll see how that goes. But it's always fun to broadcast that, and always fun to be able to compete in the privilege to compete in the sim racing event for the Daytona 500, and celebrate the legacy. It's a great race and everything. So um yeah, of course, at my Twitter, you can also follow me there, which we'll probably talking about the Daytona and all the news and everything coming up at JP Huffline on there, and go on there and follow me on there. And then, of course, our YouTube at Grip Street Podcast, which we'll go and have our streams uploaded there, and everything that we have up there up to date. So yeah, go in there and watch everything that we have, and follow us, and definitely see some of our crazy shenanigans that we have, like Bill donning the um, Rico Abreu hat and doing the Mike Gundy rant. So that's up there. So definitely go back and watch that and have a laugh, and definitely enjoy it and learn something, hopefully. So yeah, I mean, glad that Daytona's back, and we'll definitely be frustrated by some parts of it, but definitely be hopefully some entertainment throughout, and definitely have some enjoyment from the return of NASCAR officially to start the year.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious as to see what CW is able to do with their broadcast, as they'll have exclusivity with the Xfinity series. I know the Truck Series broadcast will suck, but at least the Xfinity I have hope for. And then Clint Boyer having to sit there and take it up the butt, which he usually does anyways. But the fact that his football team lost will be nice. Um, for me, you can find me at PG Matthew 28 on Twitter X. You can find me what's it called? That PGM GSP 28 on Blue Sky and Instagram. Yeah, and then you have what's it called? PhilipGMatthew.com. You have Grip Strip Pod on Twitter. You can also find audio on my YouTube page. And we have the video, of course, on the Grip Strip podcast page that Josh handles. And then, yeah, I'm GSP 1428 on the iRacing. I do my sim racing leagues at Apex One and Westfield, and I do that Wednesday nights. I'm pretty slow out there, but I'm not the worst, so I'll take solace in that. But in my hand, considering my hand and my wrist are bothering me, to the fact that I'm able to do anything of great significance with a bowling ball, let alone drive in a sim, I'll take that. I'll take the wins. With that, we will be back for episode 257 of the GSP to recap the NASCAR portion of Daytona Speedweeks and everything else going on in the world of motorsports, with Formula One reveals coming along and everything else happening. We will talk about here on the GSP. Thanks to you, Josh, as always, for great insights. Doing it on the road this week. And thank you for listening. And we will be back next week, episode 257. And we'll see who gets those big victories and starts their season off in the best way possible in the world of NASCAR. It's great to have racing back, move forward from the football season, and get right back into racing. 38 weeks now in a row, there will be some sort of NASCAR event. So next 9 months, got something to talk about. So it'll be cool. For Josh, I'm Phil. See you next time.